Wow, I feel like I'm getting ready for the title fight or something here, like the music, crazy stuff. Hey, everybody. That's a good start. Okay, you ready? Keep going, keep going. There it is. All right, keep going. Oh, so good. You guys are awesome. We're going to talk about that in a second. Cool. I'm Jeff. I'm the National Program Director for the Canadian Ski Instructors Alliance, and I have the honor of being the head coach for the Canadian team, and I hope you've had an excellent time out there with them so far. I want to start with this quote. And I think if I was to write a book about my career as a ski instructor, I'd probably start with this quote. I think it's pretty cool. I think it says a lot. I think well, if you know Sir Ken Robinson, the late Sir Ken Robinson, you know that he wasn't a ski instructor. But if he was, this probably would have been why. Probably would have been why he would have been the member of a ski organization, would have been in a pro room with a ski school surrounded by professionals, new ski instructors, veterans. Probably why he would have worked really hard to get into this room to sit down with all of you, and he probably would have been wearing the Basie uniform, hey? All right. Some powerful words in that statement. Learning's a skill, and you can hone it, and it's endlessly scalable. It doesn't stop. If you could measure learning, and I don't know if there's a real measuring stick for learning out there, but if you could measure it, it's probably measurable through things like growth and achievement, right? We challenge ourselves with learning for the promise of growth. And I think that everybody sitting in this room this afternoon, you probably thrive on it. You probably actually thrive on the idea of helping people with that experience that you have. You probably want nothing more than for people to experience that with you. Growth is a cool thing. Growth is necessary. It's what we need as individuals. It's what we need as ski people. It's what we need as organizations. And I think, not to overstate it, but it's probably what we need as a world community. Cool? You know what? There's this cool thing right here that reminds me what I'm supposed to say when I forget. I've never been on a stage like this before, so I might use this a little bit. But if you're... well, let me put it this way. I don't want to overstate anything, but I think if we can create organizations with new instructors, old instructors, any instructors that know how to learn and can commit to learning, I think we stand to create endless growth. I believe in that. If you Google anything about the principles of learning, a few things will come up. There's a few more than this, but these are kind of the main ones that float to the top often, right? Learning, it's a very emotional thing. It's personal. It's, emotional engagement actually helps learning, right? Societal interaction or social interaction, it's a huge tool in learning, right? Novelty, like the brain loves novelty. I didn't have to go on too long with my weird clapping routine before suddenly you were intrigued and you came along. Right? I didn't need to ask you to come along, you just came along. The brain loves that stuff. Teaching others helps. And that's what we're doing here this week, which is so cool about what we're doing here this week. We're teaching our peers. We're putting ourselves up against other people's knowledge, other people's experience, and we're bouncing ideas off of each other. Mistakes are important. They're essential, and we make them all the time. And that brings me back to the learning concept. Learning involves mistakes, and if you can get comfortable doing that, like I probably will tonight a few times, then growth is the result. It's the reward we get for that. So if all of that's true, then what I think is that I advanced my slides too fast. See, there's mistake number one, right? But if we can get ourselves into a collaborative situation, then all of these things, emotions, interactions, novelty through the ideas of others, teaching those opportunities and the mistakes, the support that we give each other when we actually put ourselves in a difficult spot, we try something hard, we make mistakes around each other, we can benefit from the support of each other, all right? When I started clapping up here, I don't know who did it first with me, but someone out there joined me first. And then quite quickly, someone else joined them. I don't think that second person joined me. They joined the first person. They joined one of your peers. And as soon as that started to happen, then the rest of you joined each other, right? Thanks for not leaving me as the one weird guy standing up on stage clapping to myself and the presentation hasn't even started yet, all right? But I just think that's cool. So collaboration is truly key, but collaboration doesn't start or happen by itself. It actually takes effort, right? This is an idea that actually myself and Luke, and I'll introduce some of my colleagues here in a little bit, but this idea came to us through a conversation that we had with one of our colleagues in Quebec. Came out of a book that was published by the University of Quebec Press. And what the authors proposed in that book is that collaboration is a result of a certain amount of accident, but a certain amount of effort. When we sat down in this room together, the first thing we did, we were just coexisted. We were just in the same place at the same time. That's about it, right? Other than the relationships we have before we came in here. But we coexisted. Then from there, we cooperate. You may have sat down, you might have had a conversation with somebody you didn't know. But what started to happen as soon as I stepped on the stage and I started doing something, you joined in, right? So what we did is we recognized that we were kind of all in this together and that we were probably going somewhere, right? Thanks for coming, right? Once we've recognized that there's skills and ability and those kinds of things in the room that we can each benefit from and we can get towards or achieve a goal, that's when we start to collaborate. And that's a cool thing. We can harness each other's skills. We can figure out, what's Matt good at? Matt's good at taking notes, right? Right? Matt's got skills, right? Mi Young's got skills. Susie's got skills, right? These people in here have skills. They've built their own skiing organization since we all met last 4 years ago, all right? And once we recognize that, we can use those skills and we can build off of each other. That's collaboration, and that's what we're excited about. And that's going to be a bit of a theme as we go into a little bit deeper into our concepts. I think it's about relationships, right? Behind all that, it's about relationships. And when we can create good relationships, we can create collaboration and we can get somewhere. Right? I want to talk a bit about sort of two main relationships that exist in our system right now, and that's, we value these two relationships. This isn't entirely true, but for the moment, these are the two most important relationships that we have, and we've reconstructed our system around these two relationships: the learner and the teacher, and the ski and the snow. These are the visual representations of those two ideas, and I want to go into those for just a second here. Right? These two ideas work together. So one is our collaborative approach and one is our skills framework. And even though on snow over this week, we've been kind of separating those a little bit for some clarity and specificity on the message, the reality is that they are inseparable, right? They exist together all the time. Right? Our collaborative approach, it's reflective by nature. Right? In our past, you've probably heard from us, we've been using a reflective learning approach. Right? We started with David Kolb's theory, and then we evolved it a little bit to fit our own needs and so on. And where we've gone from there is to what I would call a common lesson structure, all right? But also with the idea of collaboration and putting our learner at the center. And that's not unlike all of us, right? I don't think there's an organization here where we don't put the learner or the student in the middle. We chose the word learner because to us that has a connotation that's slightly different than student. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that a learner, it's about the future. It's about looking forward. It's about gaining new information. A student has a bit more of a connotation of studying what's already there. And if we want to be truly collaborative, I think we have to look at our student as someone who can bring something to us that we didn't bring to the relationship ourselves, right? Whether that's us as a group, highly skilled, experienced people, or maybe that is the lesson where you are the skilled person and you're dealing with somebody who really needs your help. If you've done that before, you know that what they bring to the lesson can make or break the lesson if we don't react to it and we don't move with them, right? So again, I just want to hit this really quickly because it's not that complicated, and there's probably a lot of common language in here, but we really wanted to focus on knowing our learner because that is where it starts, right? And we've chosen a few categories: psychological, physical, aspirational, right? Things we should know about them, but also where do they want to go from here, right? As far as performance and skill, that's the technical side, and I'm going to get into that as well, but knowing that about them really helps what we do next, which is create an experience, right? So we create experiences. Typically that's around a task, right? And every single time we do that, the first things we do is we look at who our learner is, knowing that they're going to evolve through the lesson, and we consider where we are. Those are the two things that we're reacting to all the time, right? The rest is a little bit more in our control. We choose objectives based on those factors, right? Who our learner is, where we are, what do we have to deal with, and then we bring in skills. This is also a bit of a resurgence or a renaissance for us, if you can put it that way. We've returned to a skills system, but we've done it in a slightly different way, and I'm going to also get into that, right? 4 years ago, we talked about this a lot, right? Comparing objectives and outcomes, reflection and observation. When we can set up an opportunity for a learner to really understand what the potential outcomes of their efforts might be, they have an opportunity to reflect on that and go, yeah, or no. If I try this, I might get this. If I try that, I might get that, right? We can come back to that in a second too. I'm going to do a lot of coming back to things, right? Cause and effect. When they understand if they move like this to get the ski to do that, they're probably going to get this outcome, right? That's a really good cycle to create for someone so that it primes them so that they can understand what the potential outcomes are. So we're essentially trying to give the answers to them so that they can try it, and then they can understand if the answers were correct, as opposed to giving something to them that they need to guess about. It has a bit to do with time frame. In our world, we're working often in shorter time frames, 3 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, things like that. Not so much of a long-term athlete development for our association anyway. So this framework works really well. Then over here, exploring the possibilities, right? So we're repeating or we're varying based on those same factors, right? Where is our learner now? Has the environment changed? Have they changed? And so on and so forth. And then from there, we're trying to build autonomy, confidence, empowering people to be out there in the environment and actually understand what to do or not to do, and to get to the expertise that you're at, all right? So when we work with this with our members, I kind of use the phrase common lesson structure. And if you look at it that way, it fits that, right? Start with your learner, figure out who they are, create an experience that suits them based on a bit of a goal, all of those other factors, and then you can work through this. And this might happen individually. If I had, my front row was my lesson here, I might have each one of them in a different part of that cycle depending on where they are in their learning, right? Depending on what they need from me, right? That might be a longer term goal. If I'm honest, I think this is a little bit of a life cycle, all right? We do this all the time in life, right? As we change, we take on new experiences, we try stuff, we make mistakes, and all of those things. So it's a bigger picture aspect as well. A little while ago, I had the opportunity to do something cool. Myself and a student went out. We attached sensors to our helmets. We used cameras. We used all sorts of things to figure out sort of how we were reacting to things, and we came up with this really cool report that showed how this cycle actually works when it's in action. This was the report that came back. I'm kidding about all the sensors and the cameras and everything. But I think this is actually a reasonable representation of our real life out there on the hill. all right? When we put something down on paper, it becomes a little bit theoretical, but relationships and people and dynamics and all of the things that change as we go through, they create situations like this where we're bouncing back and forth, we're reacting to things, we're doing this when we didn't think we were going to do it, we're doing that because suddenly the learner changed a little bit or the environment changed or something happened. But in the end, if you were to actually track your day, it might look a little bit like this. Experience tells you this. All right? So the system that we've put forward, the collaborative approach and how we've shown it, it doesn't tell the whole story. But what it does is it gives us an opportunity to go back to something basic, back to something clean for a new instructor to follow. And I'll tell you what, more and more, even as our experts and very experienced people like the ones that are on our team are out there using this, they're finding that when they're lost, if I can put it that way, they'll go back to this. They'll be simple. They'll create tasks. They'll engage in a reflective manner that actually gets some direction. Right? I'll open up the floor to questions, but I'm gonna keep moving here. There's a big clock. I don't know if you can see it. There's a big clock right here, just ticking away. All right. This quote, I don't actually know where this quote came from. It might actually be Mark Sedgwick, but. It drove us. When we started retooling our system, this idea of how you think is more important than what you know, it was the genesis of what we started to do, right? And I want to take you down that path for a moment here, all right? Problem solving versus progression. We wanted to come up with a system that would allow or lay a groundwork for instructors, our members, our course conductors, to think about skiing. If you think about it as literacy, it's not what you know, it's actually how you think, right? How you problem solve, how you digest information. If you remember us from a few years ago, skier movements were highlighted in our system. Those haven't gone away. But what we did is we added a few things that we felt that were important in order to help instructors think and problem solve, because no situation out there is the same day to day, even turn to turn. It can change, right? So, again, quickly, decision making, that's the center of our skills framework. And we called it decision making. It includes objectives, and by objectives I mean like it's a short turn or it's a long turn or something like that. But decision making is actually what ties us back to our collaborative approach, because it involves where is our learner at that moment. Right? It involves the environment. It involves all of those decisions that we need to make. And sometimes we're making it for them, and sometimes we're making it for ourselves. If we're out skiing, we're always making decisions. That can be how I want to get from here all the way down to the bar at the base lodge, or it could be how am I actually going to act inside of this one turn because I know something in there is going to change. Right? So that is also scalable. All right, so here's the important stuff. Ski-snow interaction. You're going to hear our team members out there in our session talking about this a lot. And it's at the top of our triangle because of how important it is. This is the reality, in our opinion, of what a skier experiences when they're out there on the hill. Big turns, small turns, carving, skidding, speed control, direction control, things like that. How the ski interacts with the snow dictates that. Right? Doesn't matter how I ski, but how those two things interact together is what the outcome is. And I want to get you to try this. You're already warmed up, so this might work, right? I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3. And after that, I just want you to give one quick one of those. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice. Okay. That sound came from the air rushing out from between your hands. And when you did that, your hands came together. It felt natural, right? They came together, and you got a good, crisp sound out of it, okay? If you do this, let's try this. So I want you to take 2 fingers, and I want you to do exactly the same thing. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Sorry, do that again. 1, 2, 3. Exactly. Okay? Different, right? 2 different outcomes. So how these 2 things acted together created an outcome. Big sound, little sound. I can put as much effort into this as I want, but how the 2 things react is important. Okay, so sitting here, we don't have skis on, so maybe this is a reasonable way to think about it. Okay, so keep that in mind, and we're going to move on. Ski actions. I mentioned we've kind of gone, I don't want to say back to a skills system, but if you know us from history, where's Mike Porter? He'll know us from history. There we go. We had skills, and we've gone through various iterations of skills. We've had 5, we've had 3, we've, all those kinds of things, right? We called this ski actions because we wanted to focus on the vehicle being the skis. And you can do 3 things with the ski. You can twist it, you can tip it, and you can control pressure on it, right? That's either magnitude of pressure, maybe it's pressure longitudinally along the length of the ski. It might also be pressure from ski to ski if you've got 2, okay? We've built a lot of our system around what you can do with the ski versus what you can do with your body. Because if we sat here and we had a good discussion about what you could do with the ski, it might just take that long, 30 seconds or so. If I opened a discussion about what you can do with your body, it's a long discussion because we've got lots and lots of things we can do. We've got lots of moves we can make, okay? So built around a skills concept, we use yaw, pitch, and roll, which is basically the axes on which you can move that 3-dimensional object. If you're a pilot, you'll know that one off by heart, right? How can the skier move to make the skis do it, right? That's the countless options one. Oh, wait, I want to go back to this for a second. Just because I'm here and I won't get another chance for 4 years. So, ski-snow interaction, right? If you get this hand ready, right? Then I want you to do this. Instead of like this, I want you to bring them together like that. Okay, so we're just going to tip this hand a little bit. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, then flatten it out again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, ski actions changes how they interact, which changes the outcome. Make sense? Still with me? Awesome. Okay, now over to moves. Okay, so we could do all kinds of things with moves. When I said clap or when I stood up here and did this, everybody had a pretty similar way of doing it, right? I didn't have to tell you how to do it. You did it, okay? Bless you. What if we did this? You guys did a good job of this, actually. So this half over here, I want you guys to, want you to tie your wrists together for a second and start clapping. Excellent. Okay, keep going. All right? And then you guys over here, I want you to do the traditional clap. All right? Go for it. Okay? Louder. Come on, louder. Okay? You should see yourselves right now. This is awesome. Okay, thank you. All right? So if I dictate a move, it's also going to change the outcome. Because what I did there is I said, move like this. And as soon as I did that, that changed how these 2 things were going to interact, and it changed the outcome. Super quiet and cute. All right? And a little bit more what I hope to hear in 11 minutes and 45 seconds. All right? Okay, awesome. So, are you still with me? Good? So, ski-snow interaction, unbelievably important. Right? Unbelievably important. We put it first. We're teaching our course conductors and our members to start from the snow and move up all the time versus starting from the body and moving down. Okay? So a quick recap, which I kind of just said, right? So if you're thinking about this, you can think about this in a bit of a cycle as well, right? If you're watching a skier and if this isn't your go-to, I invite you to try it. When you're out on snow in the next couple of days, try it. Just try to delete the skier when you're watching someone come down and watch what the skis are doing. You'll find some interesting things. You'll find that turns are more complicated or more intricate than maybe you thought before. Complicated is actually not the right word, because when you actually can figure out how to look at the ski on the snow and decide what's important about that interaction, skiing actually becomes very simple. You can boil it down to 3 things. You can boil it down to, does that ski need to tip or twist or change pressure a little bit? And that's it, right? From there, you can figure out why that's happening. Does the ski have to tip more? Does it need to be flatter? Does it need to be twisted on the snow? How's the pressure? Things like that. We were talking a lot with the with the Japanese team today about pressure and edging, right? Things like that. How much are they tipping and when are they doing that? Okay, from there, look at the skier movements, and then you've got the whole picture, right? If you want to change what somebody's doing, right? So back to our experience and task design, we're trying to get people to do this. Move like this so the ski does this, and then this is the outcome you're going to get. More carved, more skidded. Maybe you're going to go faster. Maybe you're going to keep your skis on the snow when you're skiing the bumps. Maybe you're going to get your skis in the air when you go off that jump, stuff like that. All right, so what this is doing is it's starting to simplify the way that we think about skiing. And it's becoming a lot more fact-based than opinion-based. I sound like I'm being a little bit critical of our past, but that's the truth, right? Is we went through a real soul-searching time after, like in the last few years, where we literally took, Perry used this description last night if you were in his presentation, we put everything we had on the table. Put everything we had on the table, and we said, okay, good, now we know what we have. Then we pulled everything off the table and we only put back what was really helpful. Because we got a lot of history, and you do too, probably in your organization, right? You've been through lots of eras of different ways of thinking about teaching, different ways of thinking about engaging with students, different ways of thinking about turning a ski. Very short story, but when Eric Melmer did his sort of last speech at the Presidium meetings last year, who was there? Do you remember what he said about the theme of Interski being focused around the guest experience? Maybe not. I remember it though. And what he said was, yeah, we figured out how to turn the skis about 40 years ago. Right? And I think it's true. I think we've done a really good job of kind of going everywhere and figuring a lot of stuff out, when really for us on our technical standpoint, the reality is skiing itself from the vehicle standpoint is not that complicated. It's only complicated if we make it that way. So that's been our process to go through here. So quick overview. So this really helps us with all of these things, right? Remember I said it's a problem-solving kind of structure that we wanted to come up with, right? It doesn't dictate a specific way you have to do things, but it helps the ski instructor stand back and look at the whole picture and go, okay, what's important here, right? These ones over here, task creation and priming and reflection. The task creation, by going through and using this process, this is a good inventory for that. Move like this so the ski can do that, and you'll probably feel this outcome. Ready, Sander? Go. Right? You can get there really quickly using it this way. I'll try and go the right way. Let's go that way. All right. Cool. Priming and reflection. Right, real quick touch on that. So in the assessment part of our collaborative approach, priming and reflection can be assisted by this as well. When those pieces are in place, it's actually quite easy for a skier to go, okay, if I moved like this and I got that, that's cool. Right? Helps us along to the exploring the possibilities side, helping them with autonomy and confidence and empowerment out there on the hill. I like this quote. This came out of an interview that Deb Armstrong did with Karen 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And I happened to listen to that interview around the time I was designing this presentation. I was like, that's going to go in here. Because I think it's true, right? I don't think there are absolutes in our sport. I think when we try to make absolutes in our sport, that's when we kind of go down rabbit holes, if I can use that expression. The more we can stay above that a little bit and think and problem solve, collaborate with our learners, I think the more times we succeed. One more quote for you. You've probably heard that one before. Also a very cool quote. That's essentially what we've tried to do. So we're in a really we're in a great situation right now, and I mean great by we're learning, we're making some mistakes, we're trying new things, we're challenging ourselves to do some different stuff, because some of what we're doing is a bit of a departure from where we're at. And again, if you listened to Perry's presentation yesterday, you know we've gone through the struggles that come with that. We're making the mistakes, right? And we're learning from those. But along the way, we've produced some pretty cool stuff. You're welcome to take in any of the things that we have. right? We've got a few new videos out there. Some of them are in the QR codes in our materials that are up on the app. And we're also happy to make available any of the other stuff that we've got out there. But everything, new concepts, right? Written materials, visual resources. We've changed our entire pathway based on trying to make this the backbone of our system. Instead of trying to create I'll say a look in skiing, we're trying to create an understanding of skiing. That's what our Canadian technique is going to be, is the outcome of the right application of skills at the right time. Cool? I want to come back to this, and then I'm going to close and open the floor to questions. This isn't the whole story. There's one more step that the authors of that book talked about. And this word it's not actually that commonly used in English. It's more of a French word that's used quite often. Co-elaboration. This is Interski, right? This is where I think if we do this right, we kind of shed this is how we think it's best done or anything like that, and we actually honestly get together and we co-elaborate. Anybody a musician in this room? Cool. If you've played with other musicians and you've gone off on a riff and you've been creative, or somebody in your band has started something, you go, that's so cool. And then you sit, there's like head nodding going on. That's co-elaboration. It's a something. It's a creative, beautiful something. And I only call it a something because I think that's the essence of it, is you don't know what it is. But how you get there and how you bother figuring it out and how you know when you're there is when you get this group of people together to work as closely as we can together, to stay in touch, to be creative, to throw our ideas around and go, what if? Or go, man, that's cool. I think that's Interski, which is exciting. It's cool to be in this room with you. It's cool to have an opportunity to stand here and talk a little bit about what we do. But the coolest thing about it is that our team, our organization gets to do this with you, and we get to co-elaborate. So I want to invite everybody to do that with us, right? We're going to keep doing our sessions. We're going to keep telling you about what we do, but let that be the music that lets the riff happen later on. Because I think that's a really exciting thing. We get excited about it. It gives us energy, and it makes us all better. Cool. So thank you very much. A couple people that I want to introduce before we move to questions are kind of here along the side of the room. Perry Schmunk is our managing director. Come on up here, Perry. Luc Neron, who, if you don't know Luc, he is our product quality director. He's based over in Quebec. Come on up on the stage. And Mark Sedgwick, who, if you're interested in the written documents and stuff, that's Mark's work. He's spent years, quite literally years, building some of those documents and really trying to get our materials into a place that there's a lot of background and science to it, but also to a place where our members can digest them and use them and actually learn more. So I wanted to bring these guys up on the stage because I do want you to know that this isn't just my work. I get to talk. This is truly an honor. I get to wear this cool microphone. I kind of feel like Garth Brooks up here, or Britney Spears, depending on what you're into music-wise. But it's these three gentlemen that I get to work with, along with the rest of our organization, our team. I can't say enough about our team, but they drive us every day, and they are the ones that are really trying this stuff and telling us about it and figuring out how it works. And we hope that you will do that with us as well. Thank you very much. Awesome. We'll give a couple more of these out at the door because these have hard cardboard in them, so I'm not going to throw them. But thank you very much. Really appreciate your attention. And we'll see you again soon. Have a great rest of your week.